Have you ever noticed that some people seem to grow lighter, more joyful, and at peace as they age, while others seem weighed down by stress and tension? The reason may surprise you. Often the key to a happier life in your later years isn't about doing more, it's about doing less. Yes, you heard that right. In certain areas of life, putting in less effort can actually bring you more happiness. In this video, we're going to explore 5 surprising things that become easier and more fulfilling when you stop overthinking, overdoing, and overextending yourself. And make sure you stick around until the end, because the last point might be the most freeing truth you've heard in a long time. Let's begin. Number 1, the less energy you spend worrying about what others think, the more peace you'll feel. As the years go by, one of the most liberating shifts is this. You stop caring so much about outside opinions. When we're younger, we often bend ourselves into shapes trying to please others, seeking approval, avoiding judgment, living by other people's expectations. But with age comes wisdom, and you start to see something clearly. Most people aren't thinking about you nearly as much as you feared. They're wrapped up in their own lives. The truth is, the more effort you pour into pleasing everyone else, the more drained you become. But the moment you loosen that grip, the moment you get a little lazy about worrying what others might think, you tap into a kind of inner peace you may have never known before. Think about those older folks who live on their own terms. They wear what feels good. They speak their mind without over-editing themselves. They make choices based on what they enjoy, not what looks good from the outside. They're not rude or careless. They're just free. Free from the invisible burden of trying to fit into someone else's mold. That's the gift of letting go. You don't need to wait until you're 90 to feel it. You can begin now by putting less effort into impressing others and more effort into living in a way that feels true to you, because real happiness often starts where people-pleasing ends. Number 2, the less energy you spend forcing relationships, the more peace you find. When you're younger, you're often taught that keeping relationships alive, whether it's with friends, family, or romantic partners, takes constant work. So even when a relationship starts to feel one-sided, stressful, or emotionally draining, you push yourself to keep it going. You reach out first, try to mend things, and hold on long after the connection has faded. But as you grow older, your perspective shifts. You begin to realize that not all relationships are meant to last forever. And the more you cling to ones that no longer serve you, the more exhausted and disconnected you feel. When you let go of the pressure to keep everyone in your life, something powerful happens. You start noticing who stays, naturally, effortlessly, and wholeheartedly. Instead of chasing after those who don't show up for you, your energy shifts toward appreciating the people who do. You stop bending over backward to keep connections alive that are already slipping away. And in that space, more authentic, fulfilling bonds can grow. Have you ever noticed how the most peaceful older adults aren't necessarily surrounded by large crowds, but by people who truly matter? They're not tangled up in shallow friendships or relationships that drain them. They've simply chosen to invest in the ones that feel mutual, respectful, and real. This isn't about cutting people off or becoming distant. It's about understanding that it's okay to release what no longer brings joy, comfort, or meaning. The right people won't need you to constantly prove your worth. When you stop forcing connections, you create room for relationships that genuinely uplift you. Number 3, the less effort you put into changing others, the more peace you gain. For much of your life, you might have believed it was your job to guide others, to help them improve, to offer advice, and to try steering them in a better direction. Maybe you wanted your kids to make smarter decisions, your partner to break a habit, or your friends to see things more clearly. But here's a truth that becomes clearer with age. You can't change someone who doesn't want to change. The more you try to push, the more resistance you meet. And all that effort often leaves you feeling drained, not empowered. Trying to change others can feel like shouting into the wind. You give your energy, your words, your heart. But if someone's not ready to grow, they won't. And once you truly accept that, life becomes lighter. You begin to shift your focus inward to your own actions, your own boundaries, your own peace of mind. Think about it. How many times have you stressed over someone's choices, trying to guide or correct them, only to be left disappointed? The moment you stop carrying that emotional load, everything changes. You start to reclaim your energy instead of wasting it on things you can't control. The most content people in their later years are often the ones who've learned this. Each person walks their own path. You can inspire, support, and lead by example, but you can't speed up someone else's journey, and you don't need to. When you stop trying to reshape others and start focusing on your own growth and serenity, you discover a kind of happiness that's rooted in acceptance, not control. Number 4, the less effort you spend chasing people who don't value you, the more peace you find. There comes a time in life when you begin to understand that not every relationship is meant to last forever. Friendships drift apart, family bonds change, and some connections simply fade with time. Maybe for years you were the one always making the calls, planning the get-togethers, or trying to keep things intact. But eventually you start to see the truth. If you have to chase someone just to keep them in your life, they were never really invested to begin with. In your younger years, you might have believed that effort alone could save any relationship. That if you just tried harder, gave more, or reached out enough, people would reciprocate. But life has a way of teaching you differently. The people who truly care will show up without needing reminders. They'll check in, make time, and be present because they want to, not because you ask them to. When you stop chasing people who aren't interested in staying, you gain something far more valuable than their company: peace. You free yourself from the emotional weight of wondering why someone doesn't reach back. And in that space, you begin to give your energy to the people who do show up without being pulled or pushed. Some people will always put themselves first. Others may only come around when it benefits them. And some will take your kindness for granted, no matter how much you give. But when you stop chasing, something beautiful happens. The people who are meant to stay, stay. The ones who genuinely appreciate you, respect your presence, and want to be part of your life. They don't need chasing. They're already there. Number 5, the less you try to control everything, the happier you become. There's a quiet kind of freedom that comes with realizing you don't have to fix everything. In your earlier years, you might have felt responsible for managing every detail: your plans, your relationships, how people saw you, or even how things should turn out. But with time, it becomes clear. No matter how much effort you put in, some things are just outside your control. And that's not a failure. It's a relief. Think about how much time is lost trying to manage outcomes that were never yours to handle. You plan every step, only for things to go sideways. You try to convince someone to see things your way, but they don't. You worry endlessly about what might go wrong, only to realize that worry didn't change a thing. The truth is, control is an illusion. And the more you try to hold on tightly, the more life slips through your fingers. The real gift of aging is learning how to let go of old expectations, of past regrets, and of the belief that you must make everything perfect. Because perfection doesn't exist, and the more you try to force life into a certain mold, the more frustration you invite. Have you noticed how some of the most joyful older people are also the most easygoing? They've learned to roll with the punches. They don't obsess over things they can't change, and they don't let small setbacks ruin their day. They've stopped trying to control life and instead started to live it. When you let go of the need to control, something incredible happens. You begin to appreciate the moment you're in. You stop getting upset over the little things. You start trusting that life has its own way of working out, and you find peace in that trust. At the end of the day, living a happy life in your later years isn't about doing more. It's about doing less of the things that drain you, less people-pleasing, less overcommitting, less worrying, less trying to control what you simply can't. There's wisdom that only comes with time, and one of the most important lessons is this: joy doesn't come from adding more, it comes from letting go. When you release what no longer serves you, you create space for what truly matters. You start to find joy in ordinary moments. You gain clarity, and your heart begins to rest in a kind of peace that doesn't depend on anyone else's approval. So, take a moment and ask yourself, where are you still holding on too tightly? Are you trying to please everyone? Are you stressing over things that are out of your hands? Are you keeping up appearances for people who don't truly see you? Maybe it's time to take a step back. Breathe, and give yourself permission to be a little lazier, at least in the ways that don't matter as much as you once thought they did. Thanks for spending this time with us today. We'd love to hear from you. Share one thing that resonated with you and how you plan to carry it forward. Your voice matters. And if you found this helpful, liking, subscribing, or sharing truly supports our mission to keep creating content that informs and uplifts. We look forward to seeing you again soon.